It's funny. We've all got that one friend. I mean, maybe you actually are that friend, right?
Oh, definitely.
The one who is currently juggling like a million things, utterly exhausted and quietly wondering to themselves, why do I always have to be the responsible one?
Yeah, the one holding it all together.
Exactly. So if you are listening to this right now while mentally organizing your family's upcoming holiday or, trying to remember if your sister paid her car insurance and mediating some huge text message fight between your parents, I need you to just pause, just take a breath, because this deep dive is entirely for you.
It really is.
Our mission today is to validate exactly why you feel so incredibly heavy right now. And more importantly, how you can actually start to put some of that weight down.
Yeah, and the term people are using everywhere right now to describe this phenomenon is eldest daughter syndrome.
Right, which is everywhere on social media.
It's everywhere. But to be clear, right up front, you won't actually find this in the DSM-5.
And for anyone who isn't familiar, the DSM-5 is basically that big official dictionary that psychiatrists and therapists use to, diagnose actual medical conditions.
Right, it's a clinical rule book, and eldest daughter syndrome isn't in it.
Okay.
But the psychological weight of this experience is profoundly real. It sits right at this fascinating intersection of Alfred Adler's birth order theory.
Which is from the early 1900s, right?
Yep, early 1900s. And it intersects with our modern societal gender expectations.
Okay, so what did Adler actually say?
Well, Adler basically proposed that when a firstborn child is, quote, dethroned by the arrival of a sibling, they often adapt.
Dethroned. I love that word for it.
Right. It's so dramatic. But they adapt by becoming highly dutiful, highly independent, and rule-following. And they do this to maintain their parents' favor.
That makes total sense.
So you combine that early 1900s theory with the way society treats young girls today, and you basically get this massive emotional burden.
Yeah, I mean, looking at the sources we have for today's deep dive, we've got therapy workbooks, clinical psychology studies, and the eldest daughter experience basically looks like being drafted into an unpaid internship.
Yes, for the rest of your life.
Exactly. And the kicker is you were drafted before you even lost your baby teeth. I mean, how does a child even get assigned this role so early?
So psychologists use a really specific term for the mechanism behind this. It's called parentification.
Parentification.
Yeah. It happens when a child is quietly and honestly, often implicitly, handed these developmentally inappropriate adult responsibilities.
Like they aren't ready for them.
Not at all. And it generally splits into two distinct categories. The first is instrumental parentification.
Which is the physical stuff, right?
Exactly. It's highly tangible. It's the 8-year-old making dinner, or tracking household supplies, getting younger siblings dressed for school, or just acting as the primary, totally unpaid babysitter.
Which sounds like a lot of physical work, obviously, but at least it's straightforward. Like, a chore is a chore. I imagine the other category is a bit messier.
Oh, emotional parentification is far more insidious.
Really? How so?
Well, this is when the eldest daughter basically becomes the confidant or the mediator, sometimes even the therapist for an overwhelmed or, emotionally unavailable parent.
Oh, wow. That is a lot for a kid.
It's way too much.
Yeah.
A young girl in this position learns to constantly read the room. She basically becomes the emotional thermostat of the entire household.
Always trying to fix the temperature.
Right, trying to perfectly anticipate and just completely prevent any adult meltdowns.
And this is where the research in our stack gets genuinely shocking to me. Because this forced early maturity, it isn't just a behavioral habit a young girl picks up.
No, it's not.
It is literally biological. Like, the UCLA study we looked at blew my mind because it talks about fetal programming. What is actually happening in the body here?
Okay, so high levels of maternal prenatal stress. So stress while the mother is pregnant can actually cause firstborn daughters to undergo what is called adrenal puberty.
Okay, wait.
And it happens up to 7 months earlier than average.
Wait, what exactly is adrenal puberty? Because I'm picturing like a toddler suddenly getting an attitude and asking for the car keys.
Not quite the car keys, no. So adrenal puberty is the early phase of maturation where the adrenal glands wake up. They start producing adult hormones.
Oh, I see.
And this usually happens a couple of years before actual physical puberty that changes body odor, skin, and really crucial aspects of brain development.
Especially around emotions, right?
Exactly. Social and emotional awareness. The UCLA researchers actually hypothesized that this is an evolutionary adaptation.
Meaning it happens for a survival reason.
Right. So a mother who is experiencing high environmental or social stress benefits immensely from having a daughter who matures quickly.
Because she needs the help.
Yes. She matures quickly enough to be an allo mother. That's essentially an assistant parent to help rear any subsequent children.
So the mother's stress literally signals the baby's biology while still in the womb to grow up faster to help her out later. That is wild.
It really is. And studies from Columbia University back this up by looking at the specific mechanisms. It's elevated stress hormones.
The glucocorticoids?
Yes, specifically glucocorticoids. They accelerate this biological clock.
How does that work?
Well, think of glucocorticoids as the body's emergency messenger molecules. When a pregnant mother is flooded with these due to stress, they cross the placenta.
And they talk to the baby.
Basically, yeah. They tell the developing fetus, look, the environment outside is harsh. We need you online and fully functional immediately.
Wow. It's like your body and your mind were put on this accelerated corporate management track while you were still supposed to be, like, on the playground.
That's a perfect way to describe it.
But I do want to push back on the idea that this is just some neat, helpful evolutionary trick. Because
Oh, it causes huge problems.
right, because if you're the eldest daughter, you're put on this management track, but your younger siblings aren't. They don't get that same biological flood of stress hormones. They just get to be kids.
Get the normal timeline.
Yeah. So how does this forced maturity impact the sibling dynamic? I imagine it creates, like, a massive amount of friction.
The complexity it creates is just massive.
Yeah.
There's often this delayed resentment that bubbles up in the teenage years and young adulthood.
I can totally see that.
Because the eldest daughter is sitting there watching her younger siblings enjoy this relatively carefree childhood. They get to make mistakes.
Right, they get to be messy.
They're permitted to fail. They get to be totally irresponsible. And these are all things the eldest was never allowed to do.
Because she was the trial run.
The trial run or the third parent.
And I assume the younger siblings don't exactly view their oldest sister as this benevolent, wonderful protector all the time either.
Oh, no. Often they view their eldest sister as bossy or like a domineering second parent rather than an actual peer.
Which has to feel so lonely.
It creates a profound sense of isolation for the eldest. She's technically part of the sibling group, sure, but she is permanently separated from them by this invisible wall of authority and responsibility.
She's kind of in no man's land.
Exactly. She doesn't fully belong to the parent group, and she doesn't fully belong to the kid group.
And because she was forced to be an adult when she was just a child, her brain wiring fundamentally changes. That childhood blueprint of isolation and responsibility, it doesn't just, vanish when she turns 18.
No, stick around.
Right. It calcifies into this massive adult burden that the therapy world calls the mental load.
A mental load.
And looking at the workbooks in our research, this load sounds absolutely crushing for young women.
The mental load is the absolute definition of invisible labor.
Mm.
And it's so vital to separate this from just physical chores.
Right. It's not the actual doing of the thing.
Exactly. The mental load isn't about doing the laundry or cooking the dinner. It is the invisible cognitive weight of noticing what needs to be done, planning the logistics, remembering the medical appointments, delegating the tasks,
And the worrying.
and carrying the agonizing emotional worry if things fall through the cracks.
Right. It's not the physical act of buying the birthday gift. It's knowing whose birthday it is,
Yeah.
knowing their clothing size, remembering they mentioned they don't like the color yellow like 3 months ago.
Tracking the shipping.
Exactly. Tracking the shipping and making sure the wrapping paper matches the theme of the party.
And all that tracking forces the brain into a constant state of hyperarousal.
Okay, can we break down hyperarousal? Because that sounds like a very clinical textbook term. What does that actually feel like on, a random Tuesday afternoon?
Think of it as that jolt of electricity you feel in your chest just from hearing your phone buzz. Because your brain instantly assumes it's a family crisis that you have to solve.
Wow, yeah.
Your nervous system is constantly humming at an 8 out of 10. It's treating everyday logistics like actual threat detection.
Because it thinks survival is on the line.
Your brain is tracking the entire ecosystem of your family to ensure survival.
I have to ask a really blunt question about this. Because I think a lot of listeners might be, judging themselves right now or maybe getting judged by their partners.
Okay, let's hear it.
When eldest daughter is obsessively planning every 15 minutes of a family trip, or when she completely freezes up from decision fatigue over something as simple as what to order for dinner.
Yeah.
Is she just being a control freak? I mean, Where is the line between carrying the mental load and just stubbornly needing things your way?
It is so important to validate this for anyone listening right now. Decision fatigue in this context is a sign of profound nervous system depletion.
It's exhaustion.
It is exhaustion, not a character flaw.
Yeah.
Eldest daughters frequently develop high-functioning anxiety. To the outside world, this woman looks incredibly successful.
She's the boss.
Highly organized, reliable, the boss. But internally, perfectionism has become a nervous system regulation strategy.
Meaning she isn't trying to be perfect to show off. She's trying to be perfect to feel safe.
Exactly. When your body is constantly flooded with the anxiety of managing everyone else's emotions and schedules, your mind frantically grabs onto anything it can control.
Anything at all.
If the travel itinerary is flawless, if every potential family conflict is anticipated and mitigated,
Then what happens?
then the nervous system's alarm bells quiet down for just a moment. The obsessive planning is just a desperate attempt to impose order on a dynamic that fundamentally feels chaotic and unsafe.
And when we zoom out from the individual brain, it becomes obvious that this isn't happening in a vacuum. Society seems to absolutely love and reward this behavior.
Societal reinforcement is a massive piece of the puzzle here. Researchers study this through a concept called daughtering.
Daughter.
Data from the UN highlights this glaring disparity. Girls between the ages of 5 and 14 spend 40% more time on unpaid domestic work than boys of the exact same age.
40% is a staggering difference.
It is. But what's even more revealing is the actual type of work assigned. Firstborn girls are typically handed intensive, daily, consistent chores.
Like what?
They're expected to cook dinner every single night, or provide daily hands-on childcare for toddlers. Boys, on the other hand, are overwhelmingly assigned irregular, episodic tasks.
Like mowing the lawn once a week or shoveling snow a few times a winter?
Exactly. The boy completes his task and goes back to playing. The girl's task is relentless and is tied directly to the family's daily survival.
Which is exhausting.
And furthermore, in immigrant families or non-English-speaking households, this burden is magnified exponentially.
Because they have to be the translators.
Right. The eldest daughter almost always serves as the cultural broker. She is the one translating legal documents, navigating complex medical systems,
That's terrifying for a kid.
and interacting with adult authority figures for her parents, while she is still literally a teenager.
We really need to dive deeper into how this intersects with race and class, because the research here reveals a whole different layer of weight.
A critical study we examined focuses on Black women in early midlife and this sociological concept called the superwoman schema.
Okay, tell me about that.
This goes way beyond just family dynamics. It is a pervasive cultural mandate placed on Black women to constantly manifest unyielding strength.
To never show a crack.
Exactly, to fiercely resist any display of vulnerability, and to selflessly help everyone around them, often at their own immense expense.
So it's not just, help your mom with the dishes. It's this internalized rule that says, if I show weakness, I fail my entire community. Why is that specific combination so damaging?
Well, the study found that when Black women strongly endorse this schema, specifically the internalized obligation to relentlessly suppress their own emotions while aggressively helping others, they experience significantly higher depressive symptoms. The mechanism here is essentially emotional strangulation.
Emotional strangulation. Wow.
If you are culturally forbidden from seeking comfort or admitting exhaustion, the stress has nowhere to go but inward.
And the study pointed out that this vulnerability is heavily compounded if they are also dealing with financial strain or debt.
Oh, absolutely.
It's like a perfect storm. You have zero financial safety net, and your cultural script tells you that asking for help is a failure of strength.
The physical and mental toll of carrying that specific intersection of burdens is just catastrophic for long-term health.
Here is the paradox that really gets under my skin. Society sees this exhaustion. We see the superwoman schema. We see the eldest daughter burnout. And instead of offering tangible help, society gives these women what I call dangerous compliments.
Dangerous compliments. Explain what you mean by that.
People say things like, oh, she's so driven, or she's so mature for her age.
Yeah.
She's the rock of the family. I never have to worry about her. When we say that, aren't we basically complimenting someone for abandoning their own needs? We are actively trapping them in this role by making their societal worth entirely dependent on their usefulness to others.
That observation strikes at the very core trauma of eldest daughter syndrome.
Mm.
You learn from a very early age that love and praise are conditional on your service.
Oh.
If you stop serving, you fear you will stop being loved. Which naturally forces us to ask, how do you actually begin to heal from that?
Right.
How do you untangle your inherent human worth from your utility to the people around you?
Let's focus on that relief. Because if you are listening to this right now and you're just nodding along, your shoulders are probably hiked up by your ears right now.
Drop the shoulder.
Yes, drop them.
Yeah.
Let's talk about the architecture of boundaries and dealing with what the clinical sources call hyper-independence.
Okay, so the first step is recognizing that hyper-independence, this deeply ingrained feeling of, I have to do it all myself because no one else will do it right or fast enough.
It's not a flex.
No, it is not just a quirky personality trait or a badge of honor. It is a trauma response.
From childhood.
It's based on the childhood lesson that relying on the adults around you resulted in disappointment or chaos. So before you even open your mouth to set a boundary with your family, you have to work on nervous system regulation.
Meaning you have to calm your body down first.
You literally have to teach your physical body that it is safe to rest and that the world won't end if you sit on the couch for an hour.
Once your heart rate is actually under control, then comes the actual boundary setting, which, let's be honest, sounds utterly terrifying if you've been a people pleaser your whole life.
Totally terrifying.
But our sources highlight a very practical framework for this. It's called the SAFE method, SAFE. How exactly does this work?
The SAFE method provides a firm, structured script. It removes the emotional volatility from setting a limit.
Okay, break it down for me.
So, S stands for specify the discomfort. A stands for assert the need. F is for acknowledge fairness. And E is for set the expectation.
Okay, so what does that actually sound like in practice? If, say, your family always expects you to host the holidays at the very last minute.
Okay, great example. You start with S, specify. You say, I feel overwhelmed when I'm handed the family logistics at the last minute.
So you aren't attacking their character.
Exactly. You aren't attacking them, you were just stating a fact. Then A, assert. I need you to ask me before volunteering my house.
Clear and direct.
Then F, fairness. This appeals to their empathy. I know we all want the holidays to go smoothly, and I really want to see everyone.
So you soften it a little?
Right. And finally, E, expectation. This lays down the physical limit. But if I don't get a month's notice, I won't be able to host this year.
I love the mechanics of that. It gives your own brain a clear rule book so you don't waffle and cave.
Keeps you on track.
But I think we need a massive reframe here because the word boundary makes people feel mean. People think of a boundary as this giant brick wall they build to keep their family out.
It's not a wall.
Right. Don't think of it like a wall. Think of a boundary as an airlock on a spaceship. You get to intentionally control the pressure.
I like that.
You open the outer door to let people in when you have the energy. And you seal it shut to protect your own oxygen when you are depleted. You aren't locking them out forever. You are just managing the atmosphere so you don't suffocate.
Visualizing it as an airlock is highly accurate. But I must add a clinical warning here for anyone who's about to go try this.
Oh, bracing myself.
When you first set these boundaries, your body is going to feel terrible. The guilt will be immense.
Really?
Oh, yeah. Your nervous system will scream that you are being a selfish, terrible daughter. And you should fully expect external resistance.
Because the family is used to the old you.
Exactly. Your family has used you as their emotional shock absorber for decades. When you suddenly step out of that role, they're going to feel every single bump in the road.
And they won't like it.
No, they will likely push back or try to guilt trip you into taking your old job back. You must stand firm.
Stand firm. Which leads us to the final and maybe the hardest step of this entire deep dive. Setting external boundaries with your family using the SAFE method is only one half of the battle.
Sure.
The other half is entirely internal.
This brings us to the let them theory.
Ah, yes. Popularized by Mel Robbins.
Right?
I'm fascinated by this concept because it sounds so simple, but executing it feels practically impossible.
The premise is basically catching that desperate, ingrained urge to micromanage everyone around you and simply saying to yourself, let them.
Let them.
If your dad wants to plan the holiday poorly and it turns into a massive mess, let him.
Just watch it burn.
Yeah. If your teenage sister is upset about some drama you can't fix, let her be upset.
Yeah.
It is about relinquishing the illusion of control. When you stop paddling so hard, the boat stops fighting the current.
This also applies to accepting help, right? Because eldest daughters notoriously short-circuit when someone actually tries to care for them.
Oh, extremely so. When a partner offers to pay for dinner or, a friend comes over and starts doing the dishes,
You panic.
your instinct will be to leap up and say, no, sit down, I've got it.
Yes.
You have to forcefully swallow that instinct. Let them care for you. Let them shoulder the burden.
Okay, practically speaking, though, I drop the oars. I use the let them theory. I am sitting on the couch while my sibling washes the laundry.
Wait, I mean, I'm watching them mix the colors, and I know for a fact that all the white shirts are turning a weird bluish-gray color. How do I actually tolerate that physical itch to jump up and save the laundry?
You stay on the couch and you let the clothes turn bluish-gray.
Seriously?
Seriously. In therapy, we call this exposure therapy. You have to expose your highly calibrated nervous system to the discomfort of imperfection.
To prove it won't kill me.
Exactly, to realize it isn't a lethal threat. By watching the laundry get ruined and realizing that you survived, your brain learns that perfection isn't required for safety.
That makes a lot of sense. And if you step in to fix the laundry, you steal their opportunity to learn the consequences of their own actions. And you cement yourself right back into the role of the relentless caretaker.
Let the clothes turn blue. It's so uncomfortable, but the mechanism makes total sense. Your brain just needs proof that the world won't end if you do nothing.
That's the key.
Well, let's take a breath and recap this journey we've been on. If you've been listening, we started by acknowledging that the heavy weight you carry isn't just in your head.
No, it's real.
It's baked into your biology through early parentification and accelerated development. We validated the sheer exhaustion of your mental load, the invisible labor of constantly tracking everyone's needs.
All of it.
And those systemic pressures, like the superwoman schema that try to trap you in a cycle of silent suffering. But above all, our mission today was to give you permission.
Permission to rest.
Yes. Permission to build airlocks instead of walls. Permission to let the people around you fail and to let the laundry turn blue. You are allowed to take up space in your own life. And you absolutely do not have to be the permanent social glue for your family at the expense of your own mental health.
Beautifully said. And as we wrap up today's deep dive into these sources, I want to leave you with a final lingering thought to explore on your own.
I love these.
You've spent your entire life defining your worth by how useful you are to the people around you. If you woke up tomorrow morning and by some magic, you didn't feel responsible for a single other human being, what would you do with your day? Who are you when no one needs you to fix anything?